we've heard so many great things concerning Abba and everything that you guys have done over there, and it trickles down to this space. It's so encouraging seeing people trying to improve production capacity during this sort of period, during this sort of time, and it's great to see that you are in it. But before we go into the question itself, or the questions that we have, I'd like to first, clear up what is a bit of a myth. Now, I've never been to Abba, but you hear stories about the fact that in Abba, that anything and everything can be produced and can be done in record time. So I'd like you to, help me, either debunk it as a myth or if there's any truth to it. How incredible is that Abba market?
Thank you very much. First and foremost, thanks guys for having me on this program. It's an honor to be here, and I appreciate what you all are doing, and we're grateful for every publicity we can get, every mileage we can get to help tell the work that we're doing. Now, to answer your question directly, yes, Abba is the entrepreneurial, small and medium scale enterprise capital of east of the Niger. I don't want manufacturing, light manufacturing, and you just said it. There is virtually nothing that can be produced that cannot be produced in Abba. We can produce everything. Maybe not to the finesse of what you are used to, maybe not to, but the potentials are can indeed be produced in Abba. I can give you that assurance.
Oh, that's quite fantastic. And moving into the questions that we had for today, first off, I'd like to know for certain. Now, we've heard, can you hear me clearly? Because your screen is frozen here.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Oh, you can hear me because your screen was frozen for a bit here. Now, I'd like to know, what is the role of the Abia State government, in the entire franchise now, whether it's the production or even the packaging, or even if it's getting it down to the consumers? I'd like you to clarify that for us exactly, what the role of the Abia State government is.
As it has to do with the general things that are produced in Abba, or within the context of general production in Abba?
Masks and PPEs.
Okay, as it has to do specifically with face masks and PPE. Okay, now, you know that PPEs were not being made locally. Face masks were equally not being made locally. As a matter of fact, within the last 2 months, I don't know if anybody who is not in the medical field has ever had need to wear a face mask. Face masks were, or nose mask or face masks. Face masks were basically, doctors, health workers, those in the line of duty in the medical field, dealing with contaminants and all of that. And in fact, with all due respect, even those who are working in construction sites who need to protect their nose from dust, that was what we knew face masks to be used for. Nobody knew that it was going to be something that would be of general application at this point, as the case may be. But then COVID-19 hit, and then when COVID-19 hit, of course, globally, a trend started. It's a respiratory kind of ailment and all of that, and then it hit Nigeria. And I have said it in several fora. The governor of Abia State, Dr. Okezie Ikpeazu, he understood that this was a trend that this was going to take. So he invited some of the tailors and said, guys, the world is going to need face masks. You guys are tailors already. So why don't you start making face masks? And they were like, they didn't understand why they should do that. It wasn't what was in demand. So he provided some grants for them to help them to get the initial materials required to veer into that field. And today they are all happy for it. But then that was what, and then the agency I had, the Abia State Marketing and Quality Management Agency, our role is to mop up everything that is produced and then distribute to buyers and all of that. So that is what we are doing. That is the role of government, if you may, because of course we're an agency of government, so we are government. So yes, that is the role of government in this whole thing.
Oh, that's quite interesting. And please help us to paint a picture of the entire value chain now. We see the mask, coming, yeah, and we also see, the nylons and the packages and all of that. What's the entire value chain like? How are the materials sourced?
Okay, thank you. To take you through the value chain, of course, the masks, it is made from water-resistant materials. We all know that the textile industry in Nigeria is virtually non-existent, so we are using a hybrid of foreign materials and then some locally sourced variants too. Most of the materials we use are imported. That's the honest truth, because we do not have the capacity nationally to produce the materials required to make this. So for the protective equipment, the waterproof ones, yes, it is mostly imported stuff. Now we bring it in. It is imported from China, from Europe, from all over. It is offloaded at the Apapa port and then moved down to Aba. Of course, Aba has always been the hub for picking up these things, as the case may be. And then we have selected some tailors. We are working with the Standards Organization of Nigeria. They have certified some of the things that we do. So as for the masks, as for the PPEs, that is the same process. We have agreed with them that this is what is expected of you guys. We pass through some key processes and they produce. And then because of all the publicity that we have done, we're able to serve as aggregators. People can contact us directly, which they have been doing. And then we will now, pass, cascade those orders down to people we know that are qualified to be able to handle them. And then the orders are produced, and then we coordinate shipping to the guys. We coordinate delivery to the people who require it. So this is the entire value chain. We get the raw materials, we select the tailors that will produce, we ensure quality, and then we pass it on to the final clients that require it. So yes, that is what we do.
No, that's quite interesting and insightful, actually. And it brings me to this question exactly. What we are talking about itself now are the lessons from Aba. The response of the tailors, the response from the government. The request from the government, like you just clarified now, that it was Governor Pazu that came out to speak to the tailors, to tell them to step in to fill the production gap and be able to step in these things. And it brings me to this question exactly. What are the biggest lessons? Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you. The biggest lessons.
Yeah, the biggest lessons that I think can be gleaned from this entire, process now, building capacity, increasing production capacity of both the local tailors and the way it has been handled by your office and also people all over the world, the way it has been accepted by people all over the world. What are the biggest lessons to glean from this?
The biggest lesson is that brother, what a professor of marketing has summarized as a foreign consumption complex is what we suffer from. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I lost you there. I lost you for a bit, but I think I can hear you now. Although your video is still not clear enough, but no problems. I can hear you.
Okay, great. So I was answering your question, and I said that a professor of marketing here had said that in Nigeria, it is the best, it is better, and that is not always the case. That is the honest truth. The honest truth is that there is a lot that we can make here. This crisis proven it. It's sad that we needed a pandemic to be able to realize that we have this things in-house, in country, as the case may be, you know. And it is a huge lesson. We should learn to look inwards. All the support bases, there's a lot of funding that goes into supporting MSMEs. You know, every day you hear that CBN is bringing out, you know, 100 billion, 500 billion, Bank of Industry, and all these other guys. Let us be able to put it in the actual productive entrepreneurial sector. So, if you look at some of the things that we've been producing now that were hitherto sourced from abroad, you know, and overall nose mask and all of that. These are things that can be easily made here, and there really was no reason to import some of this stuff. So the lesson that we can learn: China was the world's manufacturer. China was the world's workshop, as the case may be. And COVID hit China and they shut down, and the world was reeling. The world could not get products anymore. And everybody started scrambling. We even had a global scandal of countries seizing products that were made for other countries or ordered by other countries and hijacking them. Basically, it became a battle of who had, I mean, anything passing through my country, I seize it. You know, so so we should pay more attention to our own, empower our sectors, empower our producers, our entrepreneurs, our small and medium scale, you know, enterprises, and empower them to do these things. That is the lesson I think we should take out of this.
Okay, Sam, now, I'm sorry, I'm going to request that you kindly log out, then you sign back in, because I think a couple of people have come up to say that your screen is frozen, as in the video feed from you. We can't get anything from you. So I guess I'll drop you then, you request back, so that we can continue this conversation and people will be able to see you and get it's good, but we can't get enough video. So that was, and because of technical issues, he had to drop out. So it's going to, yeah, he has requested again so that we can continue and we'll be able to get good enough video from his end. Because my screen was just blank and I'm just seeing cycles of that could be in clearly. Let's see, let's wait for him to get back on. But I hope you guys are already getting a couple of things, you know, from our discuss so far. And like I always say, if you have any questions, please send them as comments to us so that we'll be able to ask Mr. Sam so that he'll be able to give us even much more insight from things happening on ground at Abia. So waiting on Mr. Sam to come back. I think the internet had to place it to troublesome.
Yeah, I can hear you. The network is a bit shaky, but I can hear you.
Still can't get. Okay. Hello.
Yes, I'm here. I can hear you.
Okay, you can hear me. You see, still I can't get a video feed from you, but I guess we just have to move on that way because my screen is still, the part of you on my screen is still settling. I can't just
let not be another.
We'll just move to the next question.
I can hear you.
And the next question now is that what? Okay, yeah.
I said, let it not be another Babyface and Teddy Riley, but yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I can actually see you clearly. I can see you clearly.
Clearly.
So now to you had to do some things to improve operations at different end that you were able to, you know, produce up to 1 million masks in like a month. That's during the month of April. Okay. Did you get my question?
No, unfortunately I didn't get the question. Could you say it again? I had April though.
Let me ask, how were you able to ramp up production? Was it that the number of tailors on the ground were able to produce at that sort of capacity? Or was it that you had to tweak operations at certain places for you to be able to get them to produce at this sort of capacity?
Okay, I think if I heard you well, your question was about our production capacity and what we've been able to do. I did mention that in the month of, we released our report, and in the month of April alone, we were able to produce over 1 million face masks, and then these were distributed all over the country. And this was achieved by, like I did say earlier on, spreading the work amongst, let me again re-emphasize, Abba has always had the capacity for these productions. It was just a question of directing them on the specific product to produce at this point. And in this case, it became, what was involved was face masks and then PPE. That was what was required. So we pivoted. We switched to face masks and PPE. And we have, again, over 100,000 tailors in Abba, confirmed. The data is there, funded by DFID and all that. There are over 100,000 tailors in Abba and over 250,000 shoemakers in Abba. So these capacities are already pre-installed for production, and the numbers are there. So it just required, like I did say, it wasn't everybody that we could ask to produce face masks, because there were standards that needed to be met. There were procedures that needed to be adhered to. So we selected the ones that we knew had the capacity and had the processes that were required. Some were doing 1,000 a day, some were doing 500 a day, some were doing 2,000 a day. And like I said, we're working with about 1,000 tailors. So it depends on the capacity they each had, and it depends on the number of orders we had per time and who we felt would be able to meet those orders. So that is how we've been working. We've done over 1 million in April. And then some, of course, got more than others because they had a bigger, tailoring workshops and more machines. And one of them had like 50 machines installed. So, I mean, it was very easy to make like 2,000-3,000 in a day, while others. So, but the important thing, it wasn't a general thing. It's not just about any tailor is welcome to come and make. No, it is just a question of the guys that meet the standards we have set, the guys that were willing to abide by our, processes and then meet what we want. And that's what those are the people we're working with. And that is the capacity that we're working with.
Okay, now that you touched on orders, it brings me to this question. Are you able to, check out what the working condition of those places are like, the people producing at this point? Because you're trying to ensure that it's done in the best way possible, and also the people working under them, are getting excellent treatment. Sometimes you could think that, the demand now could make people work insane hours, and they are going to be paid very little for those hours that they work for. So are you able to, supervise this sort of the working conditions, during the production of this mask?
Thank you very much for this question. Again, we are a local brand, but then we are hoping to play globally. Part of the audience watching this, I've seen my sister Susie. She's all over the world, and she's been talking to some international brands on our behalf. We've gotten inquiries all the way from Walmart. We've gotten inquiries from certain people and certain places. And you know that for you to be able to work with some of these guys, you need to meet. It's not just about production. It's not about pricing. Those are not their primary considerations. They have other things that they also look out for. For instance, do you have minors working in your factory? Are you paying your workers living wages, or are they slaving for peanuts? Are people working reasonable hours, or is one person working a 24-hour shift, for instance? So these are some of the considerations. But my brother, the truth is that I will not come here on your Guardian Nigeria Live and tell you that, oh, everything is fine and dandy and everything is okay and all of that. We are not at nirvana yet. We are not there yet. But the honest truth is that my agency, the Abia State Marketing and Quality Management Agency, the second leg of our mandate, which is quality management, I take it very seriously. And this is part of our quality management. We have a checklist of producers that they have to fill before they can sign on to us and get orders from us. And part of those checklists, these things you mentioned now, we have to ensure that you do not have minors working in your organization. We have to ensure that basic safety features are adhered to in your organizations, you know, fire safety, work safety, the environment where you're working. We can't have you producing face masks, which are health products first and foremost, and then you're producing them in an untidy environment. It won't work, you understand? So I'm not going to tell you that it's uhuru, but I'm telling you that we are putting these processes in place, and then we are doing the best we can to orient them, you know, pull them along, get them on board, get them to understand the concept, and then move them to the place where we want them to be. So yes, it's holistic. Again, we are a local brand, but then our objective is global. We set our sights on global reach. So if we have to work for some of those people, then we have to start meeting some basic standards, and that is what we are working on. It's a process, but we're sure we'll get there.
No, it's quite encouraging to hear this, and I like the fact that you were absolutely truthful about this. And it brings me to my next question. What is the demand like? You know, you touched on the fact that, and my mind is blown actually, the fact that you have orders from Walmart. How is the demand like? Because the demand outweighs the supply. Are you planning on, you know, working on the supply and trying to, you know, expand operations to meet the supply? So just help us paint a picture of how the demand is like.
Okay, quick clarification. We do not have orders from Walmart. I did say we have a conversation on, you know, they're a global brand. So naturally they are looking for, and then they have buyers. It is the people whose job description is to find the best products at the best price, which can be put on their shelves, you know. So there are thresholds, there are parameters that must be met before, that must be met before your products can be displayed in any of the shops, so that I do not get misquoted. No, we do not have orders from Walmart. We have discussions, conversations from people who have represented them, so to speak, and then we have gotten a direct charter of what they require from people that want to work with them or produce for them. So even if we don't end up producing for them, that sort of gives us an inkling as to what the level we are expected to be playing at, you know, the checks that we need to pass before we can do business with some really global brands. So if we are setting our sights to serve global brands, then this is an inkling of what such global brands require. Excuse me. And it is important. We're glad to have that going on. You understand? So in the long term, if I understand your question, we want to move away, and the governor is quite passionate about this. He has been doing this. We want to move away from manual production, which 75% of production in Aba is still largely manual. So we want to start automating our production, introduce more machines into the work that is done in Aba, bring in more automation, you know, start phasing out the things that are done with hand, because with automation, you are guaranteed of more precision, you are guaranteed of uniformity in sizes, in templates, in patterns, and in all of that. So if it is cut together with a machine, you know that 10,000 of these masks are the same size, the same fit, the same everything, you know. And then if you have an industrial sewing machine and not just the normal Obioma, Doa own, you know, it gives you a bit better output in the work that you do. So that is the next phase of this project now. But you know that, like I've always said, these guys have been producing forever. So change is difficult. To get someone who has been doing the same thing for 20 years, for 30 years, to tell him that, sir, you've been doing this, there is another way, there is a better way, there is an easier way. He won't immediately, you know, grab what you are bringing on board and all of that. But then it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So we are in for the long game. We're in for the long run. And I'm very sure that by the time, by the time the administration of Governor Ikpeazu lapses, the world will know that of a truth, somebody who had an interest in Aba passed through Aba, and who had an interest in the productive capacity of the people of Aba passed through Aba, because a lot would have happened with them. Their game would have been on a very high pedestal. We're talking with international development finance institutions, Afrexim Bank, African Development Bank, and the rest of that. And a lot of things are in the pipelines, and I'm very sure that a lot of things will soon come to stream.
So in terms of standardization and quality control, how safe are these masks, and how have you ensured that they meet global standards? Yeah,
thank you. Even agree that we are supposed to wear masks. Everybody was saying, everybody became an expert automatically in fabrics and in medicine and in safety and all of that. We do not discountenance everything that they were saying, but then I think it was just a case of oversabi, because eventually the Center for Disease Control, World Health Organization, and all these other guys, everybody said, hey, just find a cloth to cover your nose. They just need you to stop dropping your droplets in the atmosphere and in the environment. And then you wearing some cloth to cover your face, you have held in your droplets inside your cloth, so that you can go home and wash it away or something. And then you that is next to the person also wearing something, you have protected yourself from inhaling or because even when we're talking, we may not see it, but there are micro droplets that are left in the atmosphere and in the environment. And I say for emphasis that it is recommended, even in the NCDC recommendation, which we have, in the World Health Organization and all these other guys, it is said that surgical masks, clinical masks, N95, M3, and all these other variants should be left exclusively for health workers, for medical doctors, for nurses, for lab scientists, those who are taking the samples. They are the ones that need it, because they are the ones that come in contact with already infected people. But the rest of the populace, just find a cloth to cover your face, which is what the cloth nose mask does. Now, we have variants. We have the surgical grade. We have hospitals in Abia, that's what they use, and we've distributed to other hospitals. We have surgical grade nose mask that does what the N95s and the rest would do. We also have the cloth hybrid, the hybrid between the surgical and the cloth, which is reusable. And then we have the Ankara variant, and we have the strictly fabric variant. We use the tricot, we use a polyester, we use cotton, we use all these other materials to do that. And we've had people who have placed order with specification on the type of material that they want. That is the beauty of what we do. We can customize for you. You want us to use tricot, we use. You want us to use polyester 30%, cotton 30%, we work it out and we use it and all of that. So whatever gives the easier breathing. But then in terms of safety and in terms of what is efficacious, if you may, the NCDC, New York, America, everybody has said, just wear a mask. It happened in Prague, in Czech Republic, and they all wore masks. And today they have the lowest, in fact, they've beat COVID, if you may, because everybody was wearing a mask. It was a national policy. And I'm glad that several states in Nigeria have also adopted this mask up policy. And in fact, the federal government has said everybody wear a mask. When we said this more than 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, it was like, in fact, somebody was even saying it is draconian. How do you force people to wear a mask? But today is a national policy. So let's stay away from the argument of, degrade efficacy. And masks are protective. Masks prevent the spread and the catching of COVID-19. Let us just stick to that and wear our mask before we go out.
Okay, and it brings me as we round up now. It brings me to this question. Abba has been known for its production ingenuity, and it's a huge hub when it comes to Nigeria now. Are there plans in place now to expand the hub, improve operations in that place so that it's going to be able to at least improve to the extent where it competes maybe with the likes of China, which is a global hub right now?
Thank you. COVID has created a fantastic opportunity. China, with due respect, of course, to the victims, those who have caught it and those who have passed from it, we do not mean to take advantage of your misery and suffering. I meant that in a positive light. China was the workshop of the world, the manufacturer of the world, and COVID has made, you can't import from China anymore. In fact, when COVID hit, they actually came here and mopped up everything they had sold to our traders and took it back to China. That's what precipitated the initial scarcity, because you just couldn't get anything anywhere because the Chinese had picked it all up and gone with it. So we are in the best position to fill that gap. Already we have a production pedigree. And then, of course, this was one of the campaign of the governor to say, I'm going to make trade and investment a frontline, commerce and manufacturing a frontline pillar of my administration. And he has done that. A lot of money has been pumped into this sector. But beyond that, for sustainability, I did mention earlier on, we are talking to the African Export-Import Bank. We are talking to African Development Bank, and conversations have reached advanced stage. I don't like to announce until it is done because of village people. So, but the truth is that a lot has been concluded with them. We're setting up an export trading company in Aba, which will aggregate all of these products, which will first come in to ensure global standardization of products that have been produced, and then mop them up, take them, and push them into the African market, taking advantage of African Continental Free Trade Act, AGOA, and all the other instruments that are out there for things like this. So the world is paying attention to us. We have a governor who is taking steps. We've held meetings. We've gone to Cairo. We've gone to Abidjan. We've talked to all of these people. Their conversation has always been, this is what we're doing in Aba. Come and help us. And they've all agreed. We've signed MOU. It's just COVID that slowed things down, but we are set for the next phase. Every day, I'm on Microsoft Teams, I'm on Zoom, we are fine-tuning processes and all of that. And I assure you that Aba is about to launch into its next phase. Aba will produce for Africa. Let me not be over-ambitious and say we'll produce for the world, but trust me, we'll produce for Africa. A lot of people, and Nigeria needs to shed our foreign consumption complex. We need to stop believing that whatever is not made abroad is not good. Some of the questions that we've gotten, you won't ask it from people when you are buying abroad. You just buy because you believe it's from abroad and you believe it's good. But here, people denigrate us, people look down on us, people disrespect us because we are Aba and because we are local. It's not even local. It is indigenous production, not local production. So I think the world should get ready. Nigeria should get ready. Africa should get ready. Aba, I close as I started, has the capacity to produce anything that you want produced. And we are, fine-tuning our processes to ensure finesse, to ensure quality, to ensure standard. Watch out for us, we are coming.
All right. And to our listeners out there, you can send in your questions for Mr. Sam Heart. And just before we let you go now, I want to ask, how can we bridge, the gap when it comes to raw materials? I saw you now talking about, raw materials, the fact that it was a little difficult, and China actually came back to take some of those things that they had sent down here before. So what do you think is the most effective way for us to bridge that raw material gap?
To bridge the raw material gap is a leap, is a journey, which, these things happened, the gap occurred systematically. So bridging it also will not happen overnight. It will also have to be systematic. Like you rightly know, these things have implications. A lot of factories have closed, but all the textiles have closed. Just a few remaining, and what are they making? Ankara and things like that. Some of these raw materials are not things that are locally available. Perhaps cost of production and competitiveness have driven away the producers from around here. But then a lot of things are happening again. Things are coming back. Companies are coming back. And I do believe that at some point we'll be able to get, like, we have a lot of rubber, a lot of leather, a lot of, they are in Aba, and they've started production. And some of them, that's why I said we are working with a hybrid of foreign and local raw materials. But then we're optimistic that these things will pick up. More people will indicate interest in coming to, produce the raw materials that we require for our production. But so far, the truth is that over 80% of what we use in production are still imported. For our leather, for our shoes, luckily, it's not imported. We get our leather from Kanu. The bulk of Kanu has one of the best leather globally, funny enough. What you see, what is sold as in Europe as Moroccan leather, it's not Morocco, it's Sokoto leather, and then Kanu has some of the best leather, which is bought raw and then processed abroad and sold to Louis Vuitton and Gucci and the rest of them. But we just need to install more capacity to fine-tune and finesse our processes, and then we'll do better if we do that.
All right, thank you so much for talking to us. And just before I let you go, I know I said that before, but it's been an interesting conversation. You're getting all of these things from you. And the question would be, the Africa Free Trade Agreement was meant to kick in during this period of COVID-19, and it didn't kick in. What do you think would be the effects on Aba markets and the production and capacity of Aba itself, seeing that it really changes a whole lot of things for the entire continent of Africa?
Yeah, a lot of processes were still required to go through anyway before we can start playing in the continental sphere. A lot of trading, by the way, already takes place between Aba and subcontinental Africa. But then the bulk of that trade is informal. Our Egbon, Olusegun Awolowo, who is also watching us here, he is the executive secretary of the executive director of the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, and he's been coming to Aba. And what we're trying to do now is to formalize the trade in Aba, the export in Aba, not the black market, move at night, load trailers and go kind of thing. No, we want to have it properly documented with proper support, proper packaging, and all of that. So I did inform you that we are discussing with the African Export-Import Bank to raise an export trading company in Aba, which will be used to trade Aba products to the African subcontinent. And then that has gotten to an advanced stage. And I'm sure by the time COVID is over, by the time global trade resumes, by the time continental trade resumes, this whole thing would have been all tidied up, and then we can really hit the continent first, and then our eyes are on the wall. So we are on the cusp. We are strategically positioned. We are ready, and we are ready to do all it takes for us to do our part and make sure that we get to where we need to get to. So yeah, we are ready.